I have been fascinated by Tesla, especially about his incredible mind and the inventions he made. He was not literally a human being. I have never known anybody who had the kind of physical tenacity and also the power to be up for 20 hours a day and work on projects. This is not human. I started doing research on Faust, on Tesla, and what came to my mind was that he was not a human being. He was in a human body, and his power came from occult sources. He describes what happened to him, and there will be many videos that I will be doing on Tesla, not just because of historical interest, but because to illustrate uh, some of the powers that the yogis are talking about in relation to the accomplishment of Tesla, his superhuman brain and intelligence are closer to uh, the yogic brain, and that's what interests me most as when I study Tesla. Let's see how he was able to invent this AC current. He says he was in a in a park, and then he almost memorized Goethe's Faust. Let me give you some introduction to Goethe's Faust. Goethe's Faust. Goethe was a famous German playwright. He and Faust was a guy who was dismayed and disappointed with human learning uh, through the rational process and sought uh, supernormal powers. The story goes that he made a contract with the devil, and the devil would give him all the powers. And this reminds me the story of Jesus as well. Jesus' interaction with the devil, and the devil promising him incredible supernormal powers, and Jesus didn't want it. Now, to go back to Faust, Faust made a contract. As a result, he had the power, and one day Tesla happened to be uh, reading or reciting Faust's Goethe's Faust, and that talks about the ability of the mind to soar high. And as he was doing it, he got into a, a a higher state of consciousness. And during the time that he had the vision of this motor that he would create after many years, and then you can go and look at his description of all that. Then it led me to examine Goethe's Faust more, and Faust his contract with the devil, and he made a contract and signed with his blood. And I went to Rudolf Steiner, who kind of uh, uh, illustrates the meaning of the contract with the devil and signing with the blood. It's a. I did not read the whole essay, but at least Steiner kind of verified my uh, conclusion that there was indeed some kind of occult understanding that Goethe himself had, and Goethe himself may have had some occult understanding of getting supernormal powers, and that got translated into Goethe's play, The Faust. And reading the play was, and the words really allowed Tesla to access the supernormal powers. And this is what happened. And Tesla accessed a force like Mephistopheles, which is a devil. And I'm not going to pass a value judgment on it. Whether devil or God, they both have powers. Whether one is called the white magic, the other is called the black magic, I'm not interested in labeling supernormal powers as white or black. That's a value judgment. But there is supernormal powers that are very useful. And while I was reading this book, Tesla, the Electric Messiah, I just remembered because being an Indian mystic myself, I have access to Indian mysticism. In Indian mysticism, electric current is considered to be evil. That's why even in Hindu temples, you don't have electricity in the sanctum sanctorum. You will have it everywhere. And I've also read yogis and siddhas complaining that the electricity is evil. So all these put together lead me to think that Tesla had access to supernormal powers through, I wouldn't want to call it evil powers, because electricity, in my opinion, is not evil. Definitely, it has been a blessing to us, and without electricity, the modern Western or civilization itself will fall apart, and we have to really thank Tesla for that. So, one thing that interests me about the whole thing is there are supernormal powers. Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, which I have taught many times, every time I made changes as my understanding grew more and more, talk about supernormal, attaining supernormal powers. This is one thing that I'm going to introduce during the Guru Purnima program between the 16th and the 19th of July. how can you acquire supernormal powers. And I will also use a lot of uh, anecdotes from the life of Tesla. God bless.